What's up guys, welcome to another Xcode tutorial, and today we're going to be going over how to convert your Fahrenheit temperature to a Celsius degrees. So in this case we've got 32 degrees Fahrenheit, converted it to 0 degrees Celsius for us. The only other one that I know is 212 degrees, which should equal 100, so just to test to make sure your equations are right and stuff like that. So some basic math and some simple features in the iPhone, and you've got yourself a little converter. So let's jump into a new project. We're just going to create a single view application, and we're going to call this temp convert, and we're just going to have it specific to the iPhone on this one, where you can do it for the iPad, that's up to you guys, but we're just going to do it for the iPhone. We're going to start out in the main storyboard. So that launches our view controller that we have. I'm going to change the background just to make it a little bit easier so we can see. And then we're going to go down in the objects on the right, and we're going to add in a few things. Drop a label, a button, and a text field. And once you get those three elements on the screen, you can just copy and paste to duplicate your elements here. So we're just going to put FA for Fahrenheit and CEL for Celsius. Alright, now make this button a little bit bigger, and this is going to be our convert button. And there we go. So we've already got the interface built. That's how simple it is to actually build what you saw from the simulator in the first place. Now we're going to go up to the side-by-side editor and connect some of the elements, so then we can write the code behind it. So as you open up your second editor off to the right, make sure we're in the view controller.h. And then we're gonna hold control, click and drag from our first text field and drop it within the interface and end here. Make sure we're under outlet, and we're just going to name this one Fahrenheit. I think I spelled it wrong. There we go. Alright, the second box, we're going to do the same thing. Control, click, and drag, and place it right under the Fahrenheit. And in this case, we're just going to name it Celsius, and connect that element, that object. Then we're going to go down to this button, and the button's a little bit different. We're going to do the same thing as far as hooking up. Hold Control, click, drag, and place it in between somewhere. But the button is an action, so when the button's clicked, we're going to tell whatever's in the text field to calculate the Celsius degrees for us. So in this case, instead of being an outlet, this is going to be an action. And we're going to name this one just convert, and all these default settings here are going to be fine for what we're doing. So go ahead and connect that one. Now after you've got that connected, we're going to go into the viewcontroller.m, or your implementation for these three elements, three objects. And once you do that, I'm just going to go ahead and drop back into the standalone editor. And as you can see, our two outlets have been synthesized, and they've also have the view data unloads our features already attached, so that's something nice it already does for you. And then the last thing that it did, when we hooked up our action, it threw in our implementation within our file here. So that's what we're going to do, is go down to the bottom, and under the convert, this is when the button's clicked, we want these series of events to happen. Alright, and so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the formula that we're going to have to program in here. And so when we're converting from Fahrenheit to Celsius, basically we take our Fahrenheit, we subtract 32, make sure you got brackets around that, and then we're going to multiply it by 5/9. Okay? So that may look a little bit difficult, but don't worry, it's actually pretty simple here. So what we're going to do first is go into our convert, and we're going to create a float variable x is equal to, we're going to set this equal to our Fahrenheit text field. So Fahrenheit text, and then we're going to give it the float. It's going to be your float value, and establish an x variable. So basically, as we type in the Fahrenheit, whether it's 32 degrees or 212, it's going to assign that text that we input into there into our variable x here, which is on the screen. And then what we're going to do is set up another variable. We'll just name this y. It could be whatever you'd like. and y is going to be equal to the formula. Let me pull that up here again. So y is it going to be equal to our Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5/9. And so in this case, first we've got to get our Fahrenheit. So we're going to do the same thing where we enclose it in brackets to make sure it does the right equations first. It's going to subtract before it multiplies out and all that stuff. So we're going to take our Fahrenheit, which is set to x now, and we're going to subtract 32 0f. And if you're unfamiliar with floats and all that stuff, go back, check out some of the Objective-C tutorials so you get a better grasp. But 32.0f is going to be another float value that we're going to multiply or subtract from. And then, like the formula, we're going to take our 5/9, or we're going to take our Fahrenheit x minus 32 and multiply it times our 5/9. So in this case, 5.0 divided by 9.0. We'll space that out. And so this right here is going to give us our Celsius. So right now our Celsius is actually set to y, which is perfect. Now we've got to go in and we've got to set that value to our text box. So in this case we're going to write Celsius set text, and this is going to be our string that we've developed. String with format. And the string that we're going to place in front of there is going to be our variable y from up here. But we're going to do something special. We're going to say we're only going to allow it to have 3 digits, and then we're going to have it allowed 2 decimal places afterwards. And then it's going to be our float value. It's going to be our float value, so that's why we put the f. And we're going to set that float value equal to our y variable that we established earlier. So we're going to close the brackets, and that's going to be the end of that statement there. And there's one thing else that I forgot here, is basically we've got to add square brackets around this whole statement here. And that's why we're getting that error there. So the last thing that we've got to do underneath here is we've got to set our Fahrenheit. We've got to resign our first responder. And so we'll close that off here. So we've got everything for the convert. So it's going to basically take our Fahrenheit, it's going to insert it into this formula, and then we're going to display the result of that formula in our Celsius text box that's going to be on our screen. And then the last thing, we're going to resign our Fahrenheit first responder. So the very last thing that we've got to do, and this is kind of an aesthetic thing, we're gonna change the keyboard type, because we don't want all the letters and stuff coming up. Basically, all we want is a keyboard that shows decimal values and numbers and a decimal as well. So we're gonna set the Fahrenheit.keyboard type, so just the Fahrenheit keyboard, and we're gonna set that equal to UI keyboard, and we'll go with the decimal pad in this case. So that should be everything. Now we should be able to run our application, see if it works. Alright, so go ahead and type in 32, hit convert, because we know 32 is equal to 0 degrees Celsius. And then let's check it against 212 as well, make sure that's 100. Alright, so we've got it all together, we've got everything going, and as you can see, the reason we established the Fahrenheit.keyboard types, the decimal pad, is it gives us a nice small keyboard where we can choose numbers, and then we can put, like, 212, let's see, 212, 215.0, all that stuff, and then convert it, so on and so forth. Alright, so hopefully that helps you guys develop your applications, some simple math behind that, and a basic formula to get conversion of Fahrenheit to Celsius. So subscribe, let us know what you guys are looking for, and we'll try to help you out with that. Alright, we'll catch you guys later.